Oh, I've got a life in Kalamazoo.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bruce Dumont, the founder and president of the Museum of Broadcast Communications, and welcome to our first event in this beautiful new facility. Thank you very much. I encourage everyone, if you have a question, raise your hand, and one of the ushers will get to you so you can write down a question, which we will share with the guests here. And I would like to begin by, first of all, getting a sense of from everyone. And Marion, I want to start with you. A person with your stature in the business, and Ed and everyone else, you probably get a lot of offers to do new shows, new things. What was it about this vehicle that made you say yes and bring you here tonight?
I've been dying to do a series with Ed Asner.
Okay, Ed, what's your answer?
Marion's your name. I've been dying to do a series. I love these two guys. I love Marion. We've never been together. I think she's the prettiest lady since sliced bread.
And all I had to do was, then the
and
script came out, the script came to my house, and that was it. That sold me.
So
They wrote
really
a
it was.
charming piece.
Say again?
They wrote a charming piece, and I feel it should be furthered.
I think everyone agrees with that. Let me turn to Patrick and get your response. How did this project get here tonight? Give us the medium short version of how it got here.
It got here by us deciding to do a sitcom and write one 6 years ago, when we had met Vicki and Greg. I've known Greg for 20 years, actually. So when we met Vicki, we thought, she's perfect. And from there, Teresa and I kept on working on the scripts, and we thought we would do it at one time and do it another time. We got Danny Salles on board, who we've worked with before. And kept vetting it, and finally we decided, instead of trying to do a full-on pilot, let's get an audience involved. And then, yes. And
Without you, we are nothing.
We're nothing, yes.
And we knocked on the door of the museum because we thought it was a really great venue for it.
How often is it that a project like this, during the development process, has an audience this large? Because I've not heard of it before. Is this really a first time?
I think we're setting a trend. I've never heard of it. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing for the museum.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful thing for us.
And when you made your first visit to the museum, and I asked you to sort of describe it, you described it as sort of a cross between Everybody Loves Raymond and Will and Grace. Now you have gone and you've pitched this to potential developers and also to producers and to networks. When you go in to make a pitch like that, do you have to sort of capsulize it, and do you have to put it in those terms to get their reaction?
I think that's you. Oh.
I'm not Mike.
I'm getting my feet tickled.
Speak into his chest.
You can answer it.
Really?
I'll just stand up.
You know what?
Here we
Great.
go. So I was all excited by being into Patrick's chest. I think that we have done as best a job as we could to elevator pitch it. I think you have to figure out what your project is and what it is in sound bites, because a lot of times you don't have a lot of time to communicate what that is. So we haven't gone out and pitched yet the project. We've shared the scripts with a couple of folks, agents mostly, people in Los Angeles. We've gotten really good feedback with the scripts. We did a children's television show. They said, okay, you can put one of those on their feet, but let's see what you can do with grown-up material. Not to be confused with adult entertainment. And so this is kind of how we've decided to put it into development.
Let me ask, with a show of applause, how many people, based on what you heard and saw this evening, think that a cross between Everybody Loves Raymond and Will and Grace is a good short way to describe what you saw tonight? Applaud if you think so.
Not bad.
All right, now, how many people in the audience, and you know, we'll all close our eyes if you want to clap. How many people think that's not a good description of what you saw tonight? Okay, so
Get those names.
Danny, how did you become involved in the project, and how long have you known these folks?
I've known them for a while, many years, and I was very happy when they called me and said that they were interested in helping me develop this with them. And I'll tell you, I think what's so impressive about Patrick and Teresa is that so many people have scripts floating and dreams that float around. And it's very different to put yourself out there and say, you know what, let's mount this and get it in front of an audience and really feel the flow and get the characters' voices right. And I think that it's a huge advantage doing it here as opposed to Los Angeles where it's just another reading. Here we really got an audience that will get this. And so I appreciate everybody being here.
I want to ask Vicki, when you first saw the project, what was it that made you say, I think this is something I want to become involved in?
I always look for, particularly in a situation comedy, I was very spoiled early on with great writers on news radio, and you know, I look for comedy that comes from the characters and not just jokey writing. And the characters are so beautifully flushed out. And it's also, you know, I'm 53, and so I'm at a point where, you know, my parents, I'm slowly becoming a parent to them, and it's a very identifiable topic for me, and I think for a lot of us baby boomers, you know, that transition into these people that raised us and who we love so very much, turning into kids and kind of needing our guidance and how to sort of navigate through that with some grace and humor, and it's a very touching and comical, you know, device.
Greg, you're obviously you're doing situation comedy in this particular pilot, but you're also on a very successful television show in a dramatic role. Do you prefer one to the other? And what was it about this project when you've already got a successful image to television audiences, and this is completely different from that?
In Blue Bloods, I don't get to wear Oompa Loompa pants.
Have you tried to work it into the script?
It's been cut out several times. Those are my personal pair. Actually, yeah, this is closer to theater. What was, and it is unusual in this process to be able to have an audience, because the audience really does inform the writers, the actors, what works and what doesn't. When you're doing, you know, a dramatic episodic show, it's you, the actors, and the cameras. Where here tonight, this is like doing live theater, and it's much more gratifying to be able to say really great words, and then just feel the audience go, yeah, that is a funny idea. And we just get to be the, you know, the vessel.
It's funny, I've known Greg like for 20 years, and so I think of him as the guy in Oompa Loompa pants, no offense. Like, I mean, we've done theater together a lot, and he's like such a funny guy, so it's so funny now in this chapter of your life that people are taking you seriously. No, I'm kidding. No, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a credit to how great of an actor you are, but it's funny to me.
I have to say, just to add, that it's just been a joy to work with these actors. It's every director's dream, every writer's dream to have a cast like this that can take the words, really own them and focus, and developing with them has just been an amazing experience, so thank you.
Yeah.
Ed, I want to ask this question to Ed and to Marion. You are synonymous with two of the most successful situation comedies of all time, Happy Days and Mary Tyler Moore. And your character, Ed, also spun off. It's one of the first and only one in television that spun off from a situation comedy into a dramatic series with Luke Rance. So in the minds of the American people, Ed Asner is really known for two very different roles, even though he played the same character. But my question is, because you were involved in classic situation comedy, going back to your youth, what inspired you either something that you saw, in many cases it was probably heard on radio, but also you saw early things in television. Things did happen in television before you became involved in the industry. Well, some things. Not as a star though, Marion, not as a star. What were the shows or the persons that inspired you as a young girl growing up in Minnesota, Marion?
Let's start with Ed.
Girl in Minnesota, that'd be.
Start with Ed.
Okay.
Ed, growing up as a young girl in Minnesota, what was it?
Well, getting enough money to get a sex change. I also credit radio a great deal. Radio granted me the flights of fancy that I could escape with. And it was escape that actually was the appeal of acting. When I found out that it could provide you with that therapy that so many of us need, and it gave me my therapy, to become someone else other than the person I disliked, who was me. Mm-hmm. I also say that the character people of Hollywood were the ones who attracted me and spelled the mystic magic of movies and acting. They are the ones who fascinated me. And there is no leading man out there who isn't a character actor to begin with.
Was there a particular program on radio that stands out from your childhood?
I listened to them all. No.
Marion?
You know, rather than, it's like read my book or something, but my life, I'm so curious to know how the audience, if they have comments about
Yes,
this
I'm
show.
looking for
And I hate to waste all our
questions.
time. I want to know so much about how they feel about this, us. Tell us about us.
If you have questions, the ushers will bring them to me, but how many people in your own lives know people like the characters you heard and saw this evening? Applaud.
The first row is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Marion, were you ad-libbing the tongue wagging or was it planned?
Well, I didn't, I was directed.
She's notorious of that.
I was directed.
I've heard about that.
Teresa said her mother would do that. Oh, God. So I said, terrific. If I embarrass the family out there.
I would say that I've done speculative pieces over the years for many, many people. I have never seen two such dedicated people as these two.
Yes.
Not only putting their lives and their faith in the project that they love, this project, but in the generosity that they have extended towards the people working for them. And I'm certainly putting myself first. I am grateful to them.
Patrick, in putting this ensemble together, who said yes first? Give us the order in which they joined the cast.
I think Ed, huh?
Vicki, no, Greg and Vicki at the same time, pretty much. And then Ed. And Marion said no first. To herself.
I told you.
To
That's
herself.
what she's like.
And then from there, she found out Ed was a part of it. You want to tell why you said yes?
Well, I already said, because he's a pretty hot guy.
And then her agent sent her the script, and she actually read it.
Yeah.
So we're grateful. And then Danny's been a part of it for about 3 or 4 years, around there.
How much did your experiences in Chicago and Kalamazoo affect your script and the writing of? That's for you, Patrick.
Warm cheese? Oh, yeah, talk about warm cheese.
I need a mic.
Can you sign it?
The question was talk about the experiences in
Kalamazoo
in
and
Cra-
Chicago.
in Kalamazoo and Chicago. I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we felt like for the project it needed to have a little bit smaller community feel, as I say, because Grand Rapids is so cosmopolitan now. And Patrick went to school at Western, so I certainly spent my fair share of parties at Western with him. And so we got the sense of that community, but it was really, it's really just writing our family. So a little bit of our experience. So I think it's, we grew up in a Midwest home. In Midwestern, we both grew up in Grand Rapids, and we wrote our parents and a compilation of our parents. So I don't know how to answer that beyond we wrote what we knew.
And I live in Chicago. So that's why we placed Clayton in Chicago. And we had some other people read the role. And the feedback we kept on getting that he wasn't getting the right tone. And so we auditioned me, and I got cast.
And he didn't even have to sleep with me.
Yeah. Oh. I had to sleep with Ed, but...
Well, we all did.
I had the pleasure yesterday of you were rehearsing and doing the table read right outside my office on the second floor yesterday, and I'm wondering whether that's a typical read for a series. Greg?
Well, given that I arrived on a plane at 6:30 this morning, I wasn't privy to that table.
He wasn't
read,
here.
was I? No.
He wasn't here. Well, okay.
But as I channel the moment,
You've been in table reads, so...
oh, that they happened, you mean? I don't know. Was there a lot of nudity?
Was it typical, Vicki?
Yeah, very much so. In all the right ways. They're open to, what doesn't work and what's working, and we've fidged a little bit and fudged a little bit, and yeah, but very typical, absolutely.
So in other words, Ed, if you're reading, and Marion, and because you weren't, I'll ask Vicki as well, when you're in a table read, can you tell whether the lines are working or not? And how often does the writer just acknowledge that? In other words, is there debate between the writer and the actor?
Well, on a lot of shows, it's just taboo. I remember when I did Murphy Brown, and I forget her name because I'm bad with names now, but, you couldn't change a the, you couldn't bring anything up. It depends on the tone. Yes, exactly. And, if you've worked with her, how she is.
She's a tight ass.
It's like... It's kind of true. Her words are like Shakespeare. So it really depends on the tone of the writers. And these writers are very amenable to, what doesn't feel right and what doesn't feel like it's working.
Yeah, we were rewriting.
It felt right. I felt good, easy.
What's really neat is we feel like a family, sort of.
We really did.
Yeah.
What is the next step from tonight? Again, people are asked to fill out surveys. And there is a question here, and then I'm gonna let you answer this, but let me ask this question first. The script seems safe. If you could take more risks, what would you do? Or is the tone for this type of sitcom more important than trying to push the envelope?
I would want to interject here and say to these people that, okay, the germ of your idea came from you, and your knowledge of the family and your expansion on that idea and working it and keep continuing to work it. I would remind you that one of the most successful comedies that ever existed was called All in the Family. They changed casts 3 times at least on that show, written by the great Norman Lear. And they undoubtedly veered very strongly from the conception to the inception. So I would say that this is a beginning, and not to be tied down to religiously recording fact, history. You have to depart from the characters you've created, then do so if it leads you to better comedy.
Yes.
Teresa, a question for you. Have you read the script to your parents, and what was their reaction?
Well, no. I will say that as I put my foot in my mouth the other day, thank God they died. I know I'm twisted and wrong, but no, my mom passed away 9 years ago, and that was part of her departure.
She
was
read the first draft.
She read,
Oh my God.
See how loved we are? All that love he just gave me. She passed away 9 years ago, and I started writing a one-woman show about my mother. The relationship there was much different than this relationship. A little bit, I should say, not entirely different. So I did start working on that. I did read my father some of that one-woman show. And his response, when I told him about the process and what I was doing, he did tell me that if I ever did produce this, that he was going to sue me. And I told him that that would be fine because I was his power of attorney and I would have to file against myself. So it wasn't going to happen. But I think that, and I do have to share this because this was one of my favorite moments. I read it, some of the one woman, to my 95-year-old aunt, my dad's sister, and she told me that my mother was going to haunt me. So, but they liked it, and my dad liked it, and my dad passed away, in June.
Yeah,
And
our parents, my father is here. Our parents, we feel, my mother and Teresa's mom and dad are guiding it from the other side because my mom died 6 weeks after Teresa's father died last year. So we are really parallel. But we really feel like it kind of opened us up to do this now because we were caregiving, and I was helping my father with my mother, who, and Teresa was caregiver to her mom and dad. So we feel like they're guiding us.
And I did tell my father that we were interested in trying to get Ed Asner to play him, and he said that'll never happen.
From this point forward, again, what are the next steps? We've heard and seen 2 episodes tonight. Are episodes 3, 4, 5 written, or does that happen once someone at a network or someone says, hey, I like this show, we're going to move it to the next level?
We have the ideas for those next episodes because that's a big thing that you need to know your arc. You need to know where these characters are going. We have not fully written them, and just like Ed said, we feel like we've written these 2 with Danny, who's really given us a lot of punch-ups and things like that. But we are really open to more writing from other people as well once we get picked up.
One last question, and I want to start with you, Greg, and we'll go right down the line and let Danny, you have the final word on it. In 1997, it's just 16 years ago, which is a relatively short time historically, it was absolutely staggering when Ellen came out of the closet on the puppy episode on Ellen. There were stations that canceled, refused to carry the show. And the idea of having a lead character with a gay theme was revolutionary. Now it's pretty hard to watch television at any network at night and not have some gay character involved in it. And we can also see in the last 16 years the transformation of people and how they view gay issues, how they view the concept of same-sex marriage. There's been a revolutionary change, probably faster than any social movement in the history of this country. Greg, to what extent does that episode of Ellen and all of the shows that have followed in the wake of that show, in other words, the popular culture, bringing in gay characters, bringing them into America's living rooms, how much is that responsible for this transformation of American political attitudes in your view?
Yes, yes.
I mean, in all seriousness, we haven't done enough. I feel this country has a long way to go. I think it's vital. I think there needs to be more. I think everything about all of life needs to be presented to people who don't want to see, and or there are people who don't want to know. And I think television and these characters and other lifestyles are vital to helping humanity evolve.
Marion?
Well, it is about entertainment, isn't it? And so we have to entertain them at the same time. And we are such flawed people, and some of the best characters that are in television are the flawed, insufferable people. And so it's very fun for an actor to get to play somebody who is so flawed, and you want to have some color in here and not to be so bloody perfect. And that's the fun of it for an actor. And a few less gags. If it gets too gaggy, character runs the story. That is much better, like we have in this situation. You know all those people already.
Vicki?
Yeah, I mean, along the lines of what Greg said, not to be terribly dark or, but in the 80s, I lost a lot of friends to HIV and AIDS, and and one particular, it just sort of popped into my head, but a friend of mine was dying, and the nurses would wear space suits. They wouldn't touch the patient. I mean, we were so ignorant about what that disease was, and just the fact that there's so much awareness in that particular area now, and that men can live, and there's a cocktail and all of that, and it sort of goes hand in hand with, here are these people that have always been in my life. I grew up in the theater, and most of my friends were gay. I turned a lot of guys early on the wrong way, so in my life, that's very normal to me, but it was never represented in mainstream America, and they were always about 10 or 20 years behind, I think, those of us that are, those people that forge the path. So again, we haven't done enough, but the fact that, hopefully one day that won't be a question. It won't be, are we doing enough, and is it great that we have some gay characters? It won't matter who's gay or straight or, just like we sort of are now able to colorblind cast. So we have a long way to go, but it's a great thing that it's happening. Absolutely.
Do you think your response to the question, Patrick?
Yeah, I would say that I can remember as a kid watching soap with my family and Billy Crystal's character being gay and just going uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable because as a kid I knew I was. And so trying to hide that for so many years. And I'm in a wonderful relationship now for 17 years. And I have a very supportive family, but it was not easy for me to come out. And so when we were creating this character at first, we had the relationship that they were in a relationship for 17 years. It was a married couple. He was fine. And we said, you know what? Not everybody still in Kalamazoo, Michigan is fine with their sexuality and being out. And so it was Danny's idea, who said, you know what, everybody on TV right now being gay is kind of like, yay, I'm gay, and it's okay. It's not always okay with everybody. So we really wanted to look at that and his struggle around that. So I'm grateful that I get to be doing this and being out, and I hope more of it happens.
Just as a point, I thought that one of the best lines of a lot of great lines was your comment about you want to be Broadway gay or you want to be Anderson Cooper gay.
Thank you. You guys were all very generous on that. We all backstage went, wow, that was a good response.
there were a lot of very good ones, but that one really stood out.
I don't know what I can add other than what Patrick just said. I think that what Danny did for us in this situation is we this has been a friendship for 20 years, and most people that meet us, and the announcer, by the way, Fred Stella, is my true husband.
Is Kip.
Is Kip.
I thought he was gay.
He was not. People do think he's gay, and they think he's my husband. It's very freaky and wrong, but we wanted to have that relationship and to show that that's a good relationship too. So.
Ed Asner.
You had asked me. Now, you know, this world we live in has, we are a very confused people who have been confronted with change every day of our lives. We're still recovering from the anti-racism that we formerly exhibited, from the fear of the foreigner, from the fear of the Jew, from the fear of the Jehovah's Witness. Every day, society has been pushed forward technologically to accept. And of course, someone who accepts everything, you wonder about them as to whether they have any taste at all. Are they capable of discriminating in a fine sense? And I think the difference is one is toleration and the other is acceptance. Toleration, I believe in. I had a psychiatrist once who told me that he thought the greatest revolution since the invention of fire was the women's revolution. Now that revolution goes on every day, every day. Look at the glass ceilings that exist throughout our world and the innate discrimination that is in the hearts and minds of many, many men, myself certainly included. Racial discrimination has been with us from prehistoric times, I imagine, and it will be a constant battle. It will be a never-ending battle. The gay revolution has made an unbelievable leapfrog into the future. I'm sure there will be reverses, but there were times in history when gayness was accepted, was tolerated, was equalized. So we could slip back to there, I suppose. We are never on safe ground. We must continually fight for the right of everyone.
Danny, the final review and assessment of that question goes to you.
Okay. I honestly think that it was, what I liked about it in the piece was the balance of the characters. I think at its heart, this is a family story. And so I think that this particular episode was sort of centered on the coming out aspect. And I think as it moves forward, what's really appealing to me about these characters is it's one aspect of this friendship, as opposed to some of the things we're all about. I'm gay. You know, I think in this one, it's just one of the aspects of the characters that they're all developing, and that's what excited me about this. So,
As are we all.
In conclusion, I just want to say that one of the missions of the museum is to remember, recall, and to analyze, and to offer a perspective on the great television programs of all time, the personalities, the creative people behind the scenes that have become such an integral part of popular culture in the United States. And many of them can be recalled as you walk through this museum. What intrigues me about what we are doing tonight is hopefully we are launching a next generation of a classic American situation comedy, and we thank you all for being with us tonight for this historic night, hopefully in the history of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.